Welcome back to the deep dive. If you thought you knew Easter, maybe think again. We've been digging into a source stack that shows this global holiday is maybe less a static historical date and more like a layered architecture of meaning.
Yeah, like a collision point.
Yeah.
History, cosmology, deep metaphysical traditions, all sort of meeting.
That's absolutely what the sources suggest.
And our mission today really is to distill these sometimes radically different perspectives.
Right.
You've got the traditional resurrection story, from the church. Then there's the ancient astronomical anchoring of the date itself.
It is fascinating.
And then the really radical idea of internal awakening that you find in Gnosticism.
We're going to try and reveal why this specific period on the calendar has just persistently been seen as this kind of profound doorway across millennia.
A doorway, exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. We should probably start, naturally, with the central narrative, the resurrection itself.
Makes sense.
What stands out immediately in the source material, for me anyway, is the sheer quietness of it all.
Quietness. Yeah.
For a world-changing miracle, it wasn't exactly a spectacle. No immediate universal knowledge spread instantly.
No, it's really defined by mystery, isn't it? Not immediate proof. The sources, they emphasize the empty space, the aftermath.
Right, the empty tomb.
We often focus on the body being gone, but the sources include that incredibly specific detail about the linens.
The folded linens.
Down folded. That suggests something other than, panic or theft.
Yeah.
It implies deliberation, maybe order.
That detail is really powerful when you think about it.
Yeah.
If the body was stolen, you'd expect the linen to be, scattered.
Yeah.
Or still wrapped, not tidily organized.
Exactly.
But even with that evidence, the recognition of the risen Christ, it was surprisingly difficult, even for those closest to him.
That initial confusion, it seems central to the story. The sources give us the example of the disciples on the road to Emmaus.
Right.
Walking and talking with him for miles, thinking he's just some stranger.
Until the breaking of the bread.
Until that intimate act, yes. And Mary Magdalene in the garden?
She thought he was the gardener.
Until he just spoke her name. It's like the sources are suggesting recognition required some kind of internal shift, not just seeing with your eyes.
And this is where the physical paradox really starts to, challenge our basic assumptions. The sources state the resurrected body bore no wounds, only light.
But then he offered Thomas the wounds as proof of identity.
Exactly. Wait, if the body was truly this vessel of light, why offer the trauma as confirmation?
It's a real puzzle. The source material seems to suggest maybe a shift in perception is required from the viewer, too. Perhaps he wasn't confirming the trauma itself, but continuity. It's still me.
Okay, continuity.
The body was apparently physical enough to eat with them.
Yet ephemeral enough to just appear and disappear through locked doors.
Right. That paradox, physical and yet purely spiritual, seemingly at the same time. That's the kind of cosmic riddle our sources mention him delivering during those 40 days.
Before the ascension.
Before the ascension, yeah. Quiet teaching.
And that narrative culminates with the ascension and the ultimate promise left with the disciples.
Which wasn't necessarily straightforward either.
No, it wasn't. Hey, wait for me to come back in a big spectacle. It was more like, I will come again, not in flesh, but in knowing.
In knowing.
Right.
That really shifts the entire focus, doesn't it? Away from external history towards something internal.
An internal experience.
And that pivot is critical. It actually serves as the perfect bridge to a tradition that views this entire story through that very lens, Gnosticism.
Ah, right. And this is where the definition of resurrection becomes radically different.
What's fascinating here is, the completely different framework offered by the Gnostic tradition. If the traditional resurrection is this singular, historical, external miracle.
Gnostics just reject that premise.
Pretty much entirely.
So if it's not historical for them, what is the resurrection in Gnostic thought?
It's purely internal. It's the soul rising up from the illusion of the material world. It's not about saving the physical body. It's about liberating the spirit through knowledge.
Through knowledge.
Gnosis. Gnosis, exactly. The Christ figure in this sphere is more like a messenger, maybe a spark of pure consciousness sent from the pleroma.
The pleroma, that's the fullness of divine reality.
That's the term, yeah, this fullness of divine, luminous reality. And the material world, then?
Is seen as what? A mistake. An entrapment.
Kind of, yeah. The Gnostics often describe the physical universe as being crafted by the demiurge, Maybe a lesser, possibly misguided creator figure?
Not the pure original divine source of the pleroma.
Exactly. So the Christ descends not necessarily to suffer and pay a debt in the traditional sense, but simply to remind humanity that the divine spark resides within them.
Trapped in matter created by this demiurge.
Right. Waiting to be awakened.
Wow, that really reframes the whole crucifixion narrative then.
Yeah.
If the body is just like a vehicle for the reminder, how do they handle the historical accounts of the suffering?
Well, many Gnostic groups argued the physical suffering wasn't really the point. Some even suggested it might have been illusory in some way. The purpose was the revelation, the teaching, the reminder.
The goal is gnosis.
The goal is gnosis, that radical, intuitive, liberating knowledge that frees the soul from the material illusion. It's described quite beautifully, actually, as a rebellion against forgetting.
A rebellion against forgetting who you really are, essentially.
Precisely.
It provides such a profound contrast to the traditional calendar celebration. Our sources even point out the kind of humor in this juxtaposition.
Ah, yeah, the line about the eggs.
No chocolate eggs here, only metaphysical ones, each waiting to hatch into truth.
Meaning the truth is revealed when that external shell of illusion is cracked open.
It really forces us to ask, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is the true focus of this mystery external history or internal transformation? Or maybe both somehow.
A key question.
So, moving from that deep internal focus back to the physical world, let's shift gears and look at the history of Easter's timing. Because whether you view it as internal or external, the date itself is undeniably linked to the rhythms of the cosmos.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we find out why the church formalized the date exactly when they did.
Okay.
They anchored it not just to a sequence of historical events, but to the Earth's cycle of renewal, specifically the spring equinox.
Standardizing that date must have been a huge undertaking back then, politically, logistically.
Oh, essential for unity. The early church really struggled because different communities were doing different things. Some followed the Jewish calendar lunar cycle, Passover connection,
Right.
while others followed local solar calculations. It meant Easter could fall on vastly different days depending on where you were.
Chaos. And this confusion leads us directly to the Council of Nicaea, 325 CE.
Correct. That council decreed that Easter would be celebrated on the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox.
Okay, that's specific. Why that formula?
It achieves a couple of things. First, symbolically, it anchors the celebration to the equinox, that moment of balanced light and darkness, right? And it guarantees the event happens after the sun has symbolically triumphed over winter's darkness, light returning.
Makes sense. And the second reason?
The sources confirm the, let's say, political and theological separation was also key. By creating this standardized astronomical calculation, the church explicitly divorced the timing of its main holiday from the Jewish Passover calendar.
Reinforcing its own theological independence.
It was a conscious decision, yeah, weaving the resurrection narrative into the very fabric of cosmic symbolism, but on their own terms.
And in doing so, they also, maybe unintentionally or maybe not, drew directly on much older traditions.
Definitely.
This timing immediately overlaps with ancient pagan festivals, Astara specifically.
Precisely. Astara was all about fertility, dawn, the return of life. That core idea, light and life overcoming darkness, the symbolic rebirth, it was already deeply embedded in that specific time of year.
So the Christian calendar essentially adopted and, well, consecrated the Earth's natural promise of awakening that was already being celebrated.
You could certainly see it that way, an integration.
So those ancient echoes weren't just stamped out, they were kind of integrated, absorbed right into the celebration, which naturally brings us to the most familiar symbols we still see everywhere today, the eggs and the bunnies.
Right, not just modern mascots.
No, they carry these layers of historical and, well, ancient meaning. Let's focus on the Easter egg first.
The egg is truly primordial, isn't it? Decorating and exchanging eggs, that predates Christianity by a long shot, across multiple cultures, always tied to springtime rituals.
Fertility and renewal.
Exactly. The egg represents the mystery of life itself, like a compact universe of potential, symbolizing the rebirth of the earth after winter's cold, dead stasis.
And the Christian adoption shifts that symbolism so beautifully. The sealed shell becomes the tomb.
And the cracking open symbolizes Christ's emergence. New life. It's a simple, powerful, physical metaphor.
And we probably shouldn't forget the practical side either, the indulgence factor.
Oh, absolutely. Eggs were a high-protein food, but they were explicitly forbidden during the long fast of Lent.
Right, no eggs for weeks.
So their dramatic return on Easter Sunday marked this really tangible, joyful end to abstinence and suffering. It added this layer of, communal feasting and celebration.
And if we loop back quickly to Gnosticism again,
Mm.
the egg works there too, doesn't it? As maybe the ultimate metaphor for that internal awakening.
It really does. The sealed shell is the soul's entrapment in matter, in illusion,
And cracking it open.
is liberation into gnosis, into true knowing. It's actually remarkable how this simple object can hold such vastly different yet equally profound meanings depending on the lens you use.
Truly. Okay, and now for the rabbit. Or maybe the hare, more accurately.
Historically, yes, the hare. The Easter bunny, or hare, is also not just a fluffy distraction for kids. It's another ancient symbol.
Fertility again?
Fertility, yes, but also intuition and that sort of wild, uncontrolled pulse of spring.
We mentioned the connection earlier to the goddess Eostre.
That link seems crucial. In pre-Christian traditions, the hare was sacred to Eostre. It embodied that potent renewal of life.
And lunar mystery, too.
The lunar mystery, yes. It's rapid reproduction linked it inextricably to fertility, obviously. The church might have softened the myth over time, moving from the maybe slightly wilder sacred hare to the cuter mascot bunny.
But its function kind of remains the same?
Its symbolic function, yes. The bunny's role is still often depicted as scattering the eggs, right? Reminding us that renewal is happening everywhere, outside the church walls, too, in the wild pulse of the season.
It honors that ancient understanding that, well, joy is sacred, and that spring itself is a kind of threshold we cross each year.
That combination, the historical mandate, the cosmological timing, these deeply ancient symbols, that's what makes this whole deep dive so rich, I think.
It really is an incredible exploration. We've gone from the silent miracle and physical paradox of the traditional resurrection through the really radical internal mandate of Gnosticism.
Into the deliberate cosmic timing set by that Council of Nicaea.
All wrapped up somehow in these ancient symbols, the eggs and hares, that we still celebrate, even if we don't always know why.
And this raises an important question, doesn't it? About the very nature of awakening itself, whether you view it historically or internally.
Right.
The source material strongly suggests that Easter isn't just an annual date on the calendar, it's more like a doorway.
Built on all these layers of myth and meaning.
Exactly. A moment where we're maybe invited to pause, reflect on the hidden things, and allow that spark of life, or maybe the divine spark, depending on your view, to rise. Let the children run, let the bunnies scatter, let the spark rise.
That feels like the real takeaway here. Maybe the search for truth requires more than just looking outwards.
Yeah.
We started with that promise from the Ascension story.
That the return wouldn't be in flesh, but in knowing.
In knowing.
So as you, the listener, integrate all this, maybe think about this. What modern concepts or experiences in your own life mirror this ancient idea? This idea of truth being revealed more through inner knowledge, through quiet understanding, rather than through, say, external spectacle or some loud announcement?
What requires an internal recognition rather than just an external sign?
Yeah, something to ponder.